We're getting ready to jump in with everybody.
That's awesome.
I'm recognizing faces
Yes.
already.
That's Wendy talking, if you didn't know.
Got it.
So a couple housekeeping rules. I'm going to go ahead and ask everyone to put themselves on mute and use the little raise your hand button when you want to raise your hand. And in the participants area, if you click the participants button at the bottom of your screen, there's a spot for raising your hand if you want to ask a question. And Cathy is just joining right now. Is she here?
I'm here. Hi, everybody.
There she is.
Hi, guys. Nice to see you. So Zion, thanks for already hopping on. He's already hit record. He's done all the things. I was missing you guys. I'm always thinking about you. We are working, having team meetings. Zion has been amazing. Wendy and Victoria have been pitching like crazy. Honestly, like you should see what's going on back here because it's nuts and exciting. And everybody was here yesterday and we're just working on supporting you. And I'm like, I want to see these people's faces. So I'm happy to be here with you today. I have so much that I want to share with you, but I also want to listen. Every time I'm here, I just really want to hold space for you and hear you and just really hear, because sometimes you just need some support and encouragement, and sometimes you need something specific. And I want to make sure that I keep checking in with you and making that time. So we're going to spend about an hour together, and I want to start with something that's been on my mind. And then I'm going to hopefully hear from a few of you. You can get in the hot seat and we can just tease out and listen to where you're at, and we can work with what's going on with you. The first thing I want to say, I want to read you a quote. The way we work in our culture is as though we're in a perpetual harvest, but anyone who's grown anything in the earth knows that this is impossible. And this is so important, and this is so healing, and it makes me feel like I just want to take a big sigh of relief. Like, everyone, let's do that together. Take a deep breath and let it go. And the thing is, you guys, that the creative process, it's just like harvesting something. And there are not 2 seasons, and there is not 1 season. There are 4 seasons in this world, right? And what we do is we are so impatient and we are so hard on ourselves that we are always on, always ready, always impatient, always waiting, always trying to rip out of that ground the most precious, perfect thing. That's not real. That doesn't exist in nature. That's not a universal principle. You are a soul that has so much to share, so much to unearth, so much to uncover, but it's so cruel to yourself to give yourself this standard that you are going to just keep harvesting the most beautiful, ripe fruits that you could ever produce, and it's going to be constant, and you're going to just do it constantly. That's not real. That's not a thing. That's not a thing that we should aspire to do. And guess what? I'm guilty of that myself. My team knows this. My husband knows this. I am such a workaholic. I am constantly ready for the next thing. I achieve something. Where's the next thing? Where's the next thing? Where's the next thing? But I remember this every year, a few times a year, which is that the only way I can pull new things out of myself, beautiful things out of myself, the next great thing that I will harvest is when I take my seat in the other seasons and I allow myself to fill up. And so, as crazy as I am in terms of being obsessed with my work, thank God in 2007, I found my way to this program at UCLA, and I sat myself down on a cushion, which was the scariest thing in the world for me, is like sitting still. And I spent 3 years at this mindful awareness research center. And then I learned how to weave into my life things that I do that get me out of the harvest season and into the fill up season. Like, you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to creatively reawaken yourself and just drink in inspiration. You have to, you must. That is why in Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way, she asked that every single week The readers of that book take themselves on an artist date. You must take yourself to a museum, to a play, to a show, to an experience, a drum circle. You must sit with a friend and live your life so that you have things to write about, because you're sitting with someone and you hear about their pain. You're walking on the beach and you're just feeling the waves metaphorically wash over you, and you start to feel what you're feeling and you have something to say. So I want you to both understand this, not only because I want you to make sure that you're harvesting in the way that was actually going to be fruitful for you, that you're actually taking care of your instrument, that you're actually appreciating what it actually means to be able to produce something beautiful, where you take time to live and to reflect and to hear other people and just enjoy moments. You know what I've been doing the last several days is leaving my phone and just taking a really long walk, like walking for like a mile without my phone. I just leave it at home because I know myself, like I'm not going to be able to help it. I'm going to be on my phone. So I leave my phone and I walk around for like an hour, and I come home and it's like a bath of beauty. I like see the hummingbirds and I think thoughts and I have things that come up, and then I'm just able to like make some space. So that's number one. But the other reason I brought it up is because the number one reason why you won't succeed is if you are giving yourself such a hard time that you are literally setting yourself up to fail. And so one of the things that causes that is that you're just constantly giving yourself this feeling of like, when is it happening? It should have been yesterday. And then you do something great and you get feedback from everyone that, oh, good. And then you're like, yeah, but I didn't get the next one. I didn't get the next one. So please hear me when I tell you that that is not the way things work. If you look at any farmer, you know, they're spending time tending to the land, and they're giving it their patience, and they're giving it their love, and then they're only expecting this beautiful thing to happen once a year. And it's okay if you want to start expecting that to happen more, but there's other things to learn from those lessons. Which I wanted to touch on. And one of those things is it's consistency. And the number one thing that I see from people when they're like, I'm so stuck. You know, I've just done these 2 workshops. I had a workshop with you guys, which was like so on fire. And to tell you the truth, the following week I did a workshop with my podcast audience, and people flew in also from all over the world, and I love them. And I was missing you guys, the energy of our conference. I told my team, I was like, here I am, day 1 of my podcast conference. And I'm like, I was surprised. Like, what? I didn't expect that. I was like, oh, they'll both be great. Why would one be better than the other? There was something about the energy in that room that was so palpable. And I talked to so many of you. And then I went to the second conference and talked to so many of those listeners. And the number one thing that people say to me is, I just don't understand why I'm stuck. I just don't understand why I'm not having a breakthrough. And when I actually tease out what they're working on and what they're doing, the issue is there's no consistency. That's the issue. They're not taking enough action. And then the reason why they're not taking enough action is because they're inevitably, this is what is always the case, there's some form of perfectionism, or I don't feel like I'm enough, or I'm inadequate and I'm not comfortable with the work I'm doing, so I can't do more of it because I wish that it was better, and therefore I'm not consistent. So that's it. Like I'm telling you, I wish there was some like other thing that it's really all just about a hashtag that everybody just is missing, or everybody's really missing an email formula. But what we're really missing is this idea of it's cultivating a respect and a reverence for the process and the work and for yourself. That patience that I was just talking about, when you look at a farmer, when you look at anybody who's achieved greatness, and we've talked about this in the past, but if you look at Fred Astaire and you go back and you watch movies of Fred Astaire, these movies didn't have the technology that we have to splice things together. Like these are one take. It's unbelievable, these moments. But if you look at his feet, they are like just disgusting. They're beat up and battered and bruised. And there's such greatness in the world. And we can look at people and we can see such greatness. I just watched a video of Michael Phelps, and I wish I could share it with you. I'm going to try to find it, but it's a 2-minute video that shows you, like at the end it says like making of a champion, and it's like it's almost hard to watch, like what this man puts his body through. Like you watch him, like his process and what he eats in the morning, and then how he swims his laps and how many hours a day he's at the gym. And he's just trying to grab that, literally like he's winning by 1/4 of a second. Like, I mean, it's crazy, right? Like to stand out by that little, but that's the only person whose name we remember. We're not talking about the person who gets the bronze. We're talking about him and only him, because that's what he's got to do to get that. But there's a commitment, and there's a consistency, and there's also a patience. There's like years that took for him to even get to that first race, right? To even get in the pool the first time, that he was even anywhere near the Olympic gold medal. So I think that this is the number one thing that we have to harvest in ourselves, that we have to really cultivate in ourselves, is the real understanding of what's possible, but what it takes. And it's consistency. And you need to water that land every single day. And I'm sure you guys have heard this before, but it's an incredible analogy about bamboo. But apparently with bamboo in particular, it takes 5 years before anything comes out of the ground. And then in 6 weeks, it grows 90 feet tall. So does it take 6 weeks or 5 years? It takes 5 years. So everybody says that, there's this thing called overnight successes, but there's not overnight successes, like there's just a constant yearning. I talked to Ellen DeGeneres a year ago, and I was in this private, there was like a bunch of press people who were there to watch her rehearse her Netflix special. And we got to spend some time doing Q&A with her afterwards. And it was incredible. But I asked her what she thinks is the number one quality that successful people have. And without batting an eye, she said, it's an unrelenting, never-ending, passionate quest for greatness. And it doesn't stop, because she said, she told me she did the exact same stand-up routine that she did on Johnny Carson for 6 years in terrible divey bars and clubs all around the States, until she finally performed the exact same set on Johnny Carson, went on Johnny Carson, and then she was the first woman that he called over to the couch, and she got a special, and she got a show, and the rest is history. And she's like, people were like, oh, you did your first show, and then, your whole life changed. She's like, they don't understand. I did the exact same set for 6 years. And if you look at that, you're like, oh my God, 6 years. I didn't realize that. 6 years is a long time. Well, my husband went to law school and business school for 8 years. He doesn't get to do something as fun as that. Like, we don't recognize what things take. And I don't know that they necessarily have to take as long as that. The reason why you're in this course is because you want to surround yourself with people who've done it, who can give you shortcuts, right? Like what you're experiencing right now in this program, having each other, having ways of understanding things, breaking things down, having somebody who every time you write a song, you can send it to and we can pitch it if we like it. Like, I didn't have any of that, right? So these things are going to shortcut a lot of what it took me, because everything I had to do, I had to build it from scratch. I had to find one producer, and then he was barely available. And then I had to find a co-writer, and I didn't have a team of people around me supporting me. And I didn't have any kind of sense of what the themes were. So I was just researching it and throwing spaghetti at the wall. And then I would send things hoping someone would listen, and they didn't take unsolicited material. And it was like, I go to a networking event, and over 12 years, I built some sort of a successful career. So it won't necessarily have to take you that long, but I do want you to make a commitment to me, and I want you to make a commitment to yourself that you're going to do two things: that you are not going to be hard on yourself, you are going to be patient with this process, and that you are going to respect yourself and your craft enough that you are going to commit. Because as long as you're going to be here anyway, as long as the hours and the years, and God willing, they're going to pass anyway, because we'll all be here till 120, the time's going to pass anyway, you may as well show up and be yourself. You may as well be working on your craft. You may as well be expressing yourself. So that's one commitment I want you to make. And the second thing I want you to do is to recognize sort of what's around you right here, all the resources, all these beautiful faces on these screens, and be consistent about taking that action. And in order to help you do that, I told Wendy and Victoria yesterday, and Zion was with you guys at that time. So I haven't even mentioned this to him yet, but I'm sure he's going to be on board, because he's just he really gets it. But I want to do something to keep you accountable. In fact, that is my number one goal, is to keep you accountable. That is it. Like, if I'm going to give you behind the scenes of my agenda, that's it. Like, I want to get you into action because I know and trust that you guys have so much talent. It's like beyond what you can even see right now. And if I can just get you in action, if I can pull you out from that seated position like this on the couch and get you here in the work, I know that clarity follows action, and 2 songs later and 6 songs later, you're going to be like cracking the code. I know it. I just know it because I've been on the planet long enough to know that if there's something burning inside of you that wants something, there's a reason, and it means that you can do that. You just got to get out of your own way and get into action. So in order to keep you accountable, I want to start offering you some cool things. And one thing that I want to start doing is every single week, you're not only going to get an assignment once a month, because you're going to get one assignment that's a big assignment once a month, but I'm going to give you we're going to give you mini things that you need to do every week. And it might be letting us know 3 new songs you researched. It might be showing us a brain dump of lyrics that you're working on, but we'll let you know what it is. And at the end of the month, after each assignment, which one will be your big song assignment, and the other 3 will be like things that you're doing in your process that we want to just make sure you're doing. And it will let us know that you're getting it and that you're putting in the time. At the end of the month, if you've turned in all 4 things, you'll get a key to unlock a special listening session just for those people who are getting the work done. What do you guys think of that? Yes. Because you should be rewarded for action, but that's not really my goal. I'm being sneaky. My goal is just get you to do it, right? So I'm trying to reward you because I really know that for you, the greatest reward is going to be yourself. When you leave this program, I promise that you're going to think the reason you had such a good time is because Cathy Heller is so empowering and so kind. And that's really sweet. I appreciate it. You're going to think the reason you had such a good time is because you love Zion and you love listening to the stuff that we taught you. And you're going to be like, I learned so much. The reason that you're going to love this program is because of what you learn about yourself. The reason that you're going to talk about this program, you might not even know it. It's because if I can get you into action, getting the work done, I promise you, I know it seems like miles away, but I promise you, you're so close. You're 2 millimeters away. And if I can get you to get the work done, you're going to start having crazy momentum, because Nancy is smiling because she gets it, because she's done it. And people who have like started to feel this in their life, they're like, she's right. That's what it takes. So we're going to start implementing this, and that's like just a fun, cool thing that's coming around. Now, last 2 quick things. How many of you can go like this. If you haven't heard it, no problem. How many of you heard Amanda Palmer's episode on my podcast? It's amazing. Honestly, it's amazing. I highly recommend that you listen to it because she is one of the most successful songwriters I know, and she doesn't have a record deal. She's making $45,000 a month through crowdfunding, through Patreon. Crazy. And when I tell you that this is coming from 15,000 fans, 15,000, I'm not talking about 1 million fans. I'm talking about her core tribe. She probably has much more than 15,000 fans, but the people who are paying her, and we're talking, she said, on average of $3. $3. Okay. So it's so inspiring, but what's really inspiring about it is how she built that tribe. And I want you to think like an entrepreneur. I said this at the conference. I said to everybody, how many of you know that you're an entrepreneur? And people's hands went up, and I was like, proud of you. But are you just saying that to get points, or did you think that before you walked in here today? Because I don't know that most songwriters are walking around thinking and knowing you are an entrepreneur. Like, you own a business. It's called you. Like, this is your business. You own it. You're the brand. You're the product. You're the heart, you're the soul, you're the engine, you're the CEO, and you've got to think this way. You've got to think this way. And so I want you to listen to Amanda, because one of the things that I'm definitely doing in my life through this course, through every time I talk to somebody at the grocery store, through my podcast, is I am doing everything I can to constantly motivate people to use all your resources and all your tools, and don't wait. Do not wait. Don't wait for the phone to ring. Don't wait for the email to come. Don't wait for someone to knock on the door. Figure out exactly how you're going to give and serve your community so that you are able to trade the value you're giving for dollars coming back. And I want you to be so resourceful, and I want you to think in different ways. And so hopefully one of the things that comes out of this program is not only that you have some creative breakthroughs, not only that you start to figure out the licensing beast of the music industry, but you walk away and something that rubs off on you is the way that I maybe think, is the way that the DIY part of me actually exists in all different forms. And Amanda is an incredible example of someone who didn't pursue licensing, but she pursued building content and having empathy for her tribe and listening to them and giving to them and serving them. And she says that people say to her, well, I don't have those results from I tried a Kickstarter, I tried a Patreon. And she's like, did you first have patrons, like a crowd, a tribe? Like before you did crowdfunding, did you have a crowd? And then people were like, no. She's like, great. So why would you assume you can start asking for the withdrawals before you made the deposits, right? So her whole book is on how important it is to ask, how important it is to build a tribe, how people want that from you. They want that connection, but first they need you. And you need to build that community and build that trust and build that tribe. I highly recommend you listen to the episode. It's free to listen. And I get nothing out of this other than that I think she's awesome, but definitely check out the book. And she actually, if you don't want to read the whole book and you just want like a good piece of what she says in the book, you can watch her TED Talk. But she's incredible. So highly recommend. Now let's switch gears. Let's talk to you guys about you. So, Zion, do you want me, cause you've been looking longer than I have and you maybe know whose hands were up first.
Just have Ryan Holmes. If you want to.
Hey, Ryan, what's up? Hey, wait, hang on. I gotta unmute you. Oh God, I think we're both unmuting you at the same time. You unmute you, go ahead. You do it. Or maybe that's not working. Okay, I'm gonna do it. Don't touch it. Oh, you did it. You did it. Perfect.
Right, we got there.
What's
Hello?
up?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, sorry. Right, so I actually wanted to ask you a question. I want to know what your first sync song was. And how did it make you feel when you got it?
That's an amazing question. So my very, very first one, the very first sing song I had was not even a song that I wrote. It was a song I sang because I was afraid of writing my own. I was afraid of pitching my own music. I had already had it, but I saw this guy. There was a place called Highland Grounds and he sang at an open mic and he had written a song for Sean Colvin, which I love, called I Never Saw Blue Like That Before. How many of you know that song?
I don't know.
So his name is Mark Luna and he got up and sang this song and I walked up to him afterwards like, do you have any other songs that I could record? And he's like, sure. And that was really sweet because he didn't know me from Adam. And I just been in LA for like 3 weeks and I loved the song he gave me. It was called Angel on Your Shoulder. And then I went to a friend and said, you know, a producer. And she introduced me to this guy named Dave Bassett, who actually wound up producing like big people like Meghan Trainor and Elle King and all this stuff. But at the time, he was just this guy who had a guest house with a recording studio. And I paid him $3,500. It wasn't even my song. Like, look how much you learn later on. Like, why was I paying that? I don't know. I just didn't know anything. I didn't know what I didn't know. But I recorded the heck out of the song and believed in it. He had written this song about a friend's daughter who drowned, and he wrote it and sang it at her funeral. Guess what? I just talked to him about 4 months ago, and about 7 years after I recorded that, he married that woman who lost her daughter. It's amazing. She had gotten divorced, and he married her. Anyways, beautiful story. So I recorded it. And then I didn't know what to do with it, but of course I'm just like I don't overthink anything. So I think that that's a good quality. And my husband probably thinks it's a scary quality, but I don't overthink things. So I just started to, I had one song and I was like, what do I do with this? Where do I go with this? And I was telling everybody and thinking about all the opportunities. And then I was at a friend's house and his friend was sitting there. He's like, I just produced a movie. It's low budget, but I need music. And I'm like, great. And it was a movie called Love on the Side, and the guy who was in it was from a show called Seventh Heaven, and he's like, I'll send it to the producer or the other producer, and he sent it to his other producer, and they were like, we're gonna give you like $500. I was like, what? 500? And of course I made like 150 of it because I realized that Mark wrote the song.
Right, yeah.
I own the master or whatever. But that was super fun. And I remember I would like watch it and rewatch it. And then little did I know, things just got so much more exciting after that. And I was able to write my own music and license my own music. And my first big one of my own song was $25,000. It was a year later. And I made 25 grand. I had a song of mine I wrote called Picture Perfect Day. And it was about being in a city of traffic and all these things, but you're focusing on all the beauty. And I licensed it to a Kodak commercial and I got $25,000. And I was like, that's different. And that felt really good. I think I might pursue this. That was, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing. So you think when you got your first sync, you thought it gave you the confidence to keep going and push on and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I remember just feeling, I have this thing where I just feel like it's always possible or it's always closer than maybe it even is. And I think that keeps me going. And I think that is true though for all of us. You know, I just interviewed this week Howard Schultz, who created Starbucks, and that was amazing. I actually broke down and cried in terror an hour before the interview because I felt like at the end of Rocky, where like he has to play against this next contender, and I just like lost it. I was like, this man is a billionaire. This man started out living in public housing. He had no money growing up, like zero, and he's running for president. And not that I will vote or not vote for him. I don't even know how I feel. I'm very apolitical. But the point is, I just wanted to have him on because he reached out to me, and I was like, this can't be the same Howard Schultz. And then it turned out it was, but he's a beautiful person. And the reason I bring it up is because he told me that he lived in this government assisted housing in Canarsie, Brooklyn, at the very last stop of the L train. And anyone who knows Canarsie, like it's just like not a fancy part of town. And when you get off the train, he said that there's literally a sign that says, "This is the last stop." And it was very depressing because his father had come back from World War II and was injured and couldn't work. And they lived in this like tenement basically with his sister and brother. His mom was depressed. And his mom used to say to him, "This is the last stop of the L train, but this is not your last stop. You don't get off here." And she constantly painted this picture for him that so much was possible far beyond these four little tiny walls. And I mean, I don't know anyone personally who I've ever talked to or even heard of who's had that big of a delta, like to start from literally nothing, $3 billion. Like he's worth $3 billion. That's like, I mean, you can't even comprehend, you know, how much he's created. And he gives college tuition to his employees and healthcare. And I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous. But he talked about that. Like he always believed further than he could see. So
that's amazing.
Super important. Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Love you guys. And by the way, I think that might be the most important thing that you can do in order to really eventually get whatever result you're looking for, which is to constantly look for models of what's possible and keep seeing that. Because in order for you to work towards something, you have to see where you're headed. Like if you were going to point your ship to the right port, you've got to know where that is in order to then like figure out how to chart a course there. And so in my life, I'm constantly looking to surround myself with people who can model for me bigger and broader and more expansive versions and higher vibe of being alive. And I think that that's super important. So, you know, hopefully you're getting that from me. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do for you, but really, really important. All right. Who else wants to talk? Zion, do you want to tell me, or I could just
Laura Boswell.
What's up, Laura?
Hi. Hello, everyone.
Where are you? It's so pretty there with the trees.
I know, finally. I'm in Black Mountain, North Carolina, which is outside of Asheville. It's like finally getting warm and it's amazing. It's just like rained all winter. It's been like 30 degrees and raining for 5 months. It's been brutal. And I moved here from Maui. So I'm not from Maui, but I lived there for a couple of years. So I'm just like totally ruined.
Yes.
The cold weather now.
Yep.
So I'm really happy to be outside. But yeah, so I'm really feeling grateful to be part of the course. It's kind of come to me at a chaotic time in my life, but I love the consistency that I'm held to working with other people. It's been really amazing collaborating and writing with other people and working with other producers, and it's not really something I've ever done. So even though my life has kind of remained crazy and stressful and different things have gone up and down, the course has been kind of a stability through that. And like yesterday, I posted to the group about losing a job, and I had just this like overwhelming outpouring of support, which was really kind of unexpected. And I mean, I know everyone in this group is really amazing and positive, but I was overwhelmed by how many people were showing up and commenting. So thank you, everyone. Yeah, I didn't expect how full and how multifaceted the group would be. Like, I was thinking about it as, professional advancement, but it's really just this amazing social community too, and people are supporting each other like through things that they're going through, and that's really amazing. So thank you for facilitating that. And that goes back to what you were saying about Amanda Palmer and like creating a community where people, a really meaningful community. I think there's something to be said about like that's what you've done here for us. And
it's so sweet.
But yeah, I guess I'm just trying to figure out how to stay more on top of all of the assignments and like being organized and figuring out how to get better at production and recording, and feeling kind of overwhelmed at times at like how much there is on the Facebook page. And like I get overwhelmed in general, just like being on the internet and social media, it like scrambles my brain. So I'm trying to like hone in on what's important and like be methodical. And yeah.
Wow. Well, I really hear that this has been kind of an up and down time, and you don't have to share why, but you moved from a beautiful place to another beautiful place, but a cold, beautiful place. And there may be reasons why you had to do that, and we don't need to hear what those are, but I can appreciate that. All of this just sounds like we've been able to provide some love in your life, and that's really the greatest thing ever that you could share with me. What a gift. The thing is that I think that when we're all not on our phone or not on the computer or taking a walk or in between things, all of us tend to have some sort of pain and stress and sadness that comes up, and we're not alone. We're so much more similar than we are different. And it's really simple. I think people, in fact, Amanda said that the reason that we have music, the reason I write music, she said, is just so people don't feel alone in what they're going through. And I love that you wrote something, and I saw everybody posting, and I feel so proud to be a part of this, because it's not just me doing it, and we're creating it together. And my grandma used to say that water seeks its own level. So I think that whatever we are, when we show up and we have the courage to be ourselves, we attract people who have a similar vibe. And I just feel lucky to be around such amazing souls who keep creating this all the time, and we just get to do it together. But what I will say is 2 weeks ago, right after my second workshop, I went to Tony Robbins because I'm about to interview him, and they gave me these like media seats, and I wanted so badly to cancel because I was so exhausted. I did the Sync Keepers event, and then I did my podcast event, and I had to go the next day after on a Saturday, and I was just like so wiped out. I'd been on stage 2 days, 12-hour days, and I went because of course I'm not going to not go. And one thing that he said about like losing a job or when you break up with someone is more often than not, there's such a gift in there. There's something really juicy in there, because maybe it really isn't the best thing for us, or maybe it's not really allowing us to play full out. And so he was talking about all of our limiting beliefs and how we keep ourselves stuck. And he said, so the next time someone breaks up with you, I want you to remember what I'm saying, and then just walk out onto the street and just put your hand and go, next. Like, but it was just like so empowering, and it's so true. And I was talking to someone yesterday who told me she got fired from a job. This is like 4 years ago. And then it wasn't really what she wanted to do. She was working in insurance, and then she went back and got a different job in an insurance agency, and she got fired again. And then she was walking out, like, just like so upset. I'm like, how am I going to pay the bills? And she realized walking to her car that this was like clearly like the best gift of her life. And like, if she was being fired twice, like it's like the world was like releasing her from this thing that she hated. Mm-hmm. And it forced her to figure out what she really wanted to do. And back to the harvest thing, she decided that she was going to take 3 months and just like try to chill. So she did something that she thought she'd never do. And she moved back home with her parents, but instead of hanging in the house all the time and feeling depressed, she like forced herself to just like get a book and sit on the beach, take a walk, like just like let herself just breathe and just breathe and just breathe and just live and just try to like chill. And 3 months later, she decided to start a blog, and now she has 2.7 million people who visit her blog every month. And what's amazing is, like, if I told you she would have started that blog in 2006 or 4 or 8, that would have been like, okay, that's crazy amazing. But that's when blogs were really like new. But she started it 2.5 years ago. So I was like, that's nuts. Like that, she was like competing in a space with like, you know, but it came from the push of the world saying like, no, like this is not what you're gonna do. In fact, you guys don't know this, but I had worked so many different day jobs, and one of them was at a commercial real estate firm where I had to wear like a pantsuit, like such a, like so not me. And I quit the job. I did this like George Costanza, like, I'm out, I'm done. And like, it's a Seinfeld episode where George quits, and I quit. And then I was so scared. I'm like, what did I do? Like, how am I going to go write music full time? Like, I need this day job. And I was just, it was such an awful job where I would like sit at a desk and like help the agents like get meetings and cold call whatever. It was just annoying. And anyway, I go back there like 2 months later, and I was like, you have to give me my job back. And the guy said no. And I was like, what did I do? I'm crazy. Like, they were paying me like $65,000 a year, which wasn't bad. And it was that is so bad. That's terrible. Like, first of all, you know, we all have a certain amount of time in a day. Like, I shouldn't be spending it on that. And I'm worth so much more than that on every level. And I wasn't myself, and I wasn't fulfilled. So I went back, and yeah, thank God he didn't give me my job back. Thank God. And I look back on that and I'm like, what a gift, you know, like what a gift. So hopefully, I know in the moment it can feel like so destabilizing, so unsettling, so scary. I totally understand that. I've had panic attacks. I know what anxiety feels like. I'm not shrugging it off, but I know that you have so much in you, and you're going to be figuring out what that is, and how to just keep making that more and more beautiful. So build the thing that makes you feel most alive. Build that.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that the quiet is really important. Like you're talking about, this woman who spent like 3 months just being quiet, because and what you were saying, like to introduce this talk, like that we're not ever allowing time to like plant the seeds and let them grow, that we're just trying to harvest all the time. And that's definitely where I'm at. I'm just like, okay, there's a million things to do. I like wake up. I know that meditation helps me so much, but I just don't even feel like I have time to do it. And I wake up and I'm like going at my to-do list, but ultimately you're not as clear on like what needs to be done if you're not taking that space to breathe and like calm down. So thank you.
I think the stronger we connect with those things that are so subtle, which only happen when we're like not pushing, but we're like sitting and we're thinking about something, or we're walking, or we're talking to someone, or we're having an experience, or we're watching a movie and we start crying, or sometimes we have these little subtle, they're so subtle when they come, but they're everything. And those moments are so important because one of the sentences I loved from the Tony Robbins lecture, he says, the tyranny of hows has destroyed millions of dreams. The tyranny of how, right?
That's
Because
amazing.
he says, like, if you have a strong enough why and a strong enough what, you figure out the how. You always
That's
do.
cool.
The how is, and my friend Heidi was saying to me like a month ago, it's such a smart way to say it. She's like, the steps are so easy. Like 90% of it is just psychology. And then the steps are actually not that hard. Like, it's not that difficult to do the research and like, you're in this program, like you're here to get the support to implement. You're here to hopefully have those creative discoveries and breakthroughs and that accountability. And yes, it does help to keep looking at things and to keep really knowing what you need to know. I mean, there's so many people who send us music and they're like, why is it not good? And I'm like, oh my God, they just don't know what they don't know. And it's so frustrating. So there is definitely something to that. You know, I can't give my 2-year-old my laptop. She doesn't know how to turn it on. You know what I mean? Like, there's certainly things that we have to understand strategically, technologically, in order to make things come together. But the biggest piece of it are those breakthroughs and those shifts and those subtleties. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Who else wants to share?
I keep forgetting how to pronounce her name. Jerene. Help me out.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Wait. There we go. Can you hear me?
There we go. Yes.
Okay.
How do you say your name?
Jirane.
Jirane. Okay.
Jirane. Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
Of course, I have tons of questions, but I also just want to say hello because I haven't met you over the computer, and the Sync Keepers was awesome. There was so many people there. It was pretty incredible, but I didn't get a chance to meet either you or Zion. But hello.
Hi.
Yeah. I mean, I can really like echo a lot of what Laura was saying about. There's this thing about being in the free fall, which is where I'm at without the day job as well, and trying not to freak out about day-to-day survival and trying to keep my eye on the prize. And it's true, the meditation and the visualization are really like cornerstones and so important. So just kind of expressing that, you know, I mean, I don't have any answers or know where the funding is going to come from for my life. And I'm just very open to that right now, but very excited about this class, of course, and the community. Again, echoing how amazing the Facebook is for all of us to connect, and all the support I've gotten there so far. So wonderful. And really excited. I was kind of behind in everything because I had a show I was putting together. So I'm just now finishing my rough draft of the of Let's Go, which I'm going to send in today, I think.
Great.
And had some great feedback from Zion yesterday during the hours talking about instrumental music, which I do in my own kind of niche. So I'm very excited about that. And I really like what you just said about following your desire. You know, let the desire lead you to, you know, to the abundance. I'm paraphrasing. I don't think you said that exactly, but
I love that. That's
I
beautiful.
love all these ideas. These are just wonderful, and I'm just so grateful to be here. I do have a specific question.
Great.
I'm kind of wondering, you know, and Amanda Palmer speaks to this, and I love that interview. I listened to it a couple of times.
Good.
I feel like I'm gathering this tribe around me with my original music especially, but I have this like hesitancy or fear of actually stepping up to lead the tribe, to like give all of the content that they want. There's a hesitancy that I feel, or fear probably. So I'm wondering, can you speak to that a little bit? Because you've done that. You lead your tribe fearlessly. So how do you do it?
I mean, it's such a beautiful question. It takes courage to be vulnerable and share our fears. And I just said before, like, I have my own. I was crying before I talked to Howard Schultz because I was like, you know, I've talked to Jenna Fisher, but like this just felt different. So I have my own feelings like that all the time. It's just so normal. But in terms of, in general, learning how to step into your power. I mean, that's something that we all could really use lessons in, and that we could all really understand better. I posted recently this beautiful photo that my friend, how many of you, do you know Brad Montague? Do you guys follow Brad? Brad is someone that you probably know that you don't know that you know. How many of you have seen Kid President? You've seen those videos with the Kid President? They're adorable. He created that, and he also writes a bunch of TV stuff that you know. But the other day I put on my Instagram this post that was his drawing, and it's a picture of a table, and I don't know if you can read it, but it says, "You belong at the table. You do. You really do. The table needs your presence." And there's a chair he's pointing to. It's like, it's your chair, you know, it's your chair. And I posted this because we doubt ourselves and we don't take our seat. And literally that seat's going empty and it's ours. And we need to take our seat at the table and stop apologizing. And the world it's already been given for us. And like the world's sitting there at this meeting, having this conversation, and then there's this chair that's empty because we're not taking our seat. And I love what he says and how he says it. It's such a beautiful metaphor to picture that there's a chair that's already your chair. There's a place card with your name on it, but you're just not taking your seat. And it's because we doubt our power. We don't step into our authority. And that is just a whole bunch of illusions around our limiting beliefs. And so many of you, all of us, we have different ones, but they're pretty similar probably. But actually I would challenge you to, when you get off of this call, and we could do this at some point in depth, but I would challenge you to take a deep breath and be really brutally honest with yourself, because it just might save your whole life and speed things along dramatically. But I would write down what you know, because we all know what we need to know more than we give ourselves credit for. I would write down what you think are your like top 2 biggest limiting beliefs. And you'll be amazed at what you write down. But if you're really honest, it'll be so clear. You'll hear it so loudly. And probably, because I've just been on the planet long enough, most people's number 1 thing or number 2, it's way up there, is some version of not being enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not this enough. I mean, it's just kind of really universal. And what we need to do is we need to turn it around. So when you say like, you know, I'm not smart enough, I don't have the best education, who am I to do this? You could turn that around and say, well, maybe that's actually a positive because I have the passion and the enthusiasm and I'm not in the box. Or you could turn it around if you say like, you know, I'm too young. You could say, well, I'm youthful and I have energy. Or if you say I'm too old, you could say, well, I've been on the planet so long. I have so much life experience. Or you could turn it around and say like, I'm not enough. And, you know, what does that mean? I'm not enough. You know, if I feel I'm not enough, that means I'm judging everybody else on some level that they're not enough. And I don't feel that way about my sister or my daughter or my mother or my friend or whoever. We have to just turn that stuff around. And that's why we need to constantly have tools, you know, like there is literally, I want you to know this, there's nobody I've talked to, and I've done almost 200 episodes talking to really successful people. No one, not one of those people doesn't have a coach or a therapist or a morning practice or yoga or no one, like zero, none. So for some reason, you know, we look at all of these greats and we're like, of course, Michael Phelps should have a trainer and a fitness coach and a therapist and a personal coach. And, you know, Tony Robbins does that and Oprah does that. And she talks to Eckhart Tolle every day on the phone, but we don't need that. We're good. Like, that's ridiculous. And what we need to do is just constantly be aware of it. And the cool thing about being aware of your limiting beliefs is that if you were to walk into your own home in the evening when the lights were out, you'd be fine. You wouldn't walk into the couch and stub your toe because you know where it is. But someone else would walk in and, like, you know, they bang their face into the wall. They have to turn the lights on. So when we're aware of things, we won't hit them. And that's why just the awareness alone is so powerful, so powerful. Just that awareness, just understanding it. And then when you start to feel all of these feelings about this email you're going to send or this person you're going to write with, you go, wait a minute. I know what this is. I just don't feel like I'm enough. And I'm not going to let that run my life. And so I'm going to just take action. And the thing is, you guys, that the first thing that comes when we're writing music or when we're starting our own business or whatever, or starting a relationship, the first thing that comes is never confidence. It's never confidence. It's always just courage, because everyone's terrified. So that's fine. And then what winds up happening is the more you do something, you just feel more confident. So the more you step into your truth and your power and you lead your tribe, the first time you do it and you gather them together, or you write them a blog post, or you show up on social media, or you show up on a live video, you're nervous. And the second time you're less nervous. And the third time, by the 15th time, you're like nervous about the next thing, but not that. And you just start to get comfortable. Just like when you take your kid home from the hospital. I mean, I have 3 kids, and I remember the first time I came home with my first daughter, and I was like, why on earth would they give me this child? Like, I don't know how to keep her alive. Like, I just felt like I would just stare at her while she slept because I was afraid I was going to do something wrong. Or like, was she breathing? Is she living? Is she okay? I'd have dreams that I didn't feed her. Like, I was so nervous. And of course, you know, now I'm like the best mom. I'm just kidding. I'm still a work in progress, but of course, I just don't have those same worries, you know, and I have 3 kids. And with the third one, I was just so much more like, you guys know, those of you who have kids, like by the third one, you're just like, whatever, eat off the floor. You're fine. You'll survive it. You're just like not worried anymore. We all deserve to get rid of the bullshit that we carry around, and we have to recognize it. And then the reason I use such a strong word is because you got to wake yourself up. Like, you got to you know, one thing that's really powerful is just allow yourself to picture for a minute sitting with that belief for the next year, 5 years, and just allow yourself to like, just picture what that will like, how that will serve you and how that will serve your relationships. And then think to yourself, like, how will that affect me if I just keep holding on to this belief, keep lying to myself? And then you picture yourself and you're like, yeah, that wouldn't be good, would it? Like, how many relationships would I lose? How much would my health suffer? And you're like, yeah, that sucks. And then you recognize that most people just hold on to that crap their whole life. And they lie to themselves. They lie to themselves and they say it's their parents' fault, or they're not this enough, or they couldn't do it anyway because the industry is all garbage. And they lie to themselves and they lie to themselves and they lie to themselves, and they get to 95 years old if they're lucky, and they turn around and they're like, wow, you know?
Yeah.
So don't lie to yourself.
That's amazing, Cathy. Thank you so much. That was like super illuminating. You know, because if we don't ask the question, it's always like this, like kind of unformed fear or shadow that kind of follows us around. And I love this idea of just putting it in front, and especially of playing it out. Although I have a whole life of playing it out. It's time to stop that and let's play out something different.
Play it out. And you guys, not to throw my mom under the bus, because she really means well. She came over the other day. She has the key. She like came in my house and like mopped the floor. It was so nice. She doesn't usually do that, but that was like so nice of her because she came early, and she's such a well-meaning, sweet person. But my mom has lived with manic depression her entire life. And she was only on medication for a small amount of time, and she was fine. And then she was like, I'm fine, I don't need it. And she went back off of it. And she's been suicidal, and she's been in and out of treatment, and she's literally suffered her entire life. And so I have a PhD in talking to people who are in their own way. And this is what has built my entire life. So I wrote about her in the book and you know, talked about all of the reasons why I think she gets credit, you know, for anything I'm doing in a way. Right. So, I've seen it firsthand. And since I was a kid, it's just like people who, keep themselves stuck, and it's just so painful. It's so painful to watch, and we all do it. I mean, I'm still doing it, I'm sure, on certain levels, like in certain ways. But my therapist is like, you're so growth oriented. Like, I'm like, you know, she's like, your husband is like a good sport because you're just like always ready for the next level. But I'm bringing it up because I'm sure in so many ways there's so much to work out all the time. Like I'm far from having it all done. But it's great. It's great to keep finding new areas where you're like, oh, I've been hanging on to that crap. It's time to let that go. It's not helping me.
Yeah. Thank you. That serves all of us really well. All of your self-growth really serves all of us in ours. So thank you so much. And thank you for the mindset interview as well. That was really great. I've been listening to that.
Good.
That's really quintessential.
And also, for those of you who were not at our event, I posted 3 episodes ago, the opening talk that I gave at Sync Keepers on my podcast. I posted like 15, 20 minutes of it. You should check it out because you get to hear part of it. And how many of you are coming in August? It's going to be incredible. You've got to come. No, seriously, like you have to come. I mean, we are just doing things on epic proportions. The last event, we were all flying. Like we were not touching, our feet were not on the ground. It was so incredible. So great. Yes. Awesome. Who else? One more.
Marco.
Hi, Marco. Marco was at the event. What's up? Can't hear you. Oh no. I can't hear you. What's he need to do, Zion?
Let's go to Michael. I think he's probably working out his microphone.
Oh man. Okay.
Sorry, Marco.
Oh, he's so frustrated now. That sucks. Marco, you want to type something in the chat? No? Oh man, I feel so bad. That's frustrating. All right. Are we switching?
Oh, who was that? I was going to say, let's go to Michael while Marco's figuring out his thing.
Okay. Let's go.
Michael, are you there? Michael Connor.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up, Michael? Oh, wait.
Quick question. So I have a piece which is on Song Trailer. It's in front of a music supervisor at the moment. It's actually called Enough. I've called it Enough I Am in brackets. And just wanted to find out if anyone's had any success with Song Trailer. The placement value says negotiable. Where I currently am at the moment, it's my first one, but I'm praying that it's a decent amount because I need to do some things in my life and I need to make a difference and just start to really live some of the dreams and stuff that I have planned. So anyone who's had success with Song Trader, what sort of placement value do you go in terms of negotiating? I'm kind of new to it, so I don't know.
Do you know what it's for? Is it for an ad? Is it for a TV show? Do you know what it's for?
TV, and they're looking for something that's classical and non-union, which I'm not a member of a union. So they're just elegant, beautiful, and powerful, which I.
So, I mean, there's like a general gut sense that I would have that about what it would probably pay. But then again, you would never, ever want to throw out the number first. Marco, don't worry. I'm going to read your question. I see it. Don't worry. I see you wrote it in the chat. But as far as this goes, in general, you guys never throw out the number first. You know, always ask them first to give you a number, like what's your budget? You know, what are you thinking? And then I would always ask for a little more than that because they can always say no. But I would always say something. In fact, this is what I do. You know, if somebody says like, this is the number they throw out is $3,500. And the reason I said that number is because TV usually doesn't pay a tremendous amount. Like ads pay really well. TV could pay, you know, it depends. Like America's Funniest Home Videos pays $10,000 a song, which is cool. The reason they do that is because that show doesn't have a lot of other budget items, right? Like they're not hiring actors. They have like a host and then they have a lot of money for music because most of their show is just music based. It's montages so they pay 10 grand. Sometimes if your song is at the end of a scene, they might pay you well. Or if it's at the finale of a season, they might pay you well. But in general, once in a while, there's a show that pays $5,000 a track because they have a good budget. But typically you're looking at television budgets. They are spread out over, let's say they're doing 22 episodes in a season, and then they have like 6 cues every episode. So if you do 22 times 6, and then they have to figure out their budget and how they're going to parcel it out. And then the director comes along and says, you know, I love Coldplay. So at least once in the season, you got to get me a Coldplay song. And they're like, great. So we got to parcel off $150,000 for this one Coldplay song. And they only maybe have $200,000 for the entire season. Like TV budgets are just going to be different because of how much music is going to be trying to fit in over the course of a season. Whereas with an ad, you might be looking at one song for the entire ad. You might be looking at, for a trailer, 3 songs, but then again, what's the budget on a trailer? Again, a trailer is a piece of marketing. Sometimes the budgets are higher. It just depends. But again, I would have them throw it out, and then whatever they said, I would write back and say, would love to work with you on this. Can you do a little bit more? Either way, please get back to me. I'd love to continue the conversation, and I'd ask for a little bit more. And again, when you're starting out, and even when you're not starting out, I tend to be very user-friendly. I try to be very clearable because I know that the relationship is what I want more than anything, and I want them to come back. And unless they're trying to just give me, such a low ball fee for a really obvious placement, like on a commercial, I wouldn't take I wouldn't take something that's like drastically less, but I would try to get more. And then I would like look at the forest for the trees. But I don't have specific experience with SongTrade. I've never used it myself. So why don't you look at the chat, because a bunch of people are speaking to them. And Marco, I just want to answer your question. Marco said, how do I pitch a song for a specific commodity? If I have a song, for example, that I want to pitch to Colgate, how do I do this? So let's talk about that really quickly. So first of all, in order to figure out where you're headed, you would look and try to figure out which ad agencies are working on which brands. And so you can do that different ways. How many of you have used, it used to be called Advertalog, now it's called Coloribus. You can look at this website and you can find, you could type in Colgate and then you can see all these ads from Colgate. And I would look, there's different tabs. There's a print tab and then there's a broadcast tab. So I would look at broadcast because different ad agencies are going to be taking on the same client and doing different parts of their business. So one ad agency might be working on Colgate's print side, but they have nothing to do with Colgate's actual broadcast ads. And another ad agency might have done the bid on the broadcast spots for the year. And so Deutsch is working on print and Ogilvy, I'm making this up, Ogilvy is working on their broadcast. So you want to find out who's working on it. And it'll tell you when you click on broadcast and you type in that brand, you'll see a bunch of ads. And then there'll be a bunch of credits. You'll see who the copywriter was, who the art director was. You'll see who the director of the ad. And then it'll tell you who, it'll sometimes even tell you if they used a music supervisor or a music house. And then it will tell you the name of the agency. So then I would be looking at that agency, and it also tells you what city it's in. So it'll tell you if it's in, Brazil, it'll tell you if it's in Chicago, it'll tell you where they created it. And then you can go onto LinkedIn and you can type in broadcast producer, Ogilvy, Chicago, and then you'll find like 12 of those people come up, and then you're going to email those people, and it might be, you'll see like Brandon Smith, and you'll email Brandon, not Smith, at Ogilvy, or B Smith at Ogilvy, and you'll do that with a bunch of people, and somehow you'll find who's working on Colgate. Now, that being said, you just want to be really clear that the song is a good fit, and I just want to give you some pointers. I would never, by the way, if that's no longer there, yeah, you can use iSpot. You can also use Google. Not just Google, but you can use so many other things. Like if you go onto YouTube, you guys, every brand, Coca-Cola, Payless, like they have tons of videos of their commercials. There's other ways to look this up. You can look up and you can see the last 12 Sprite ads. You can see the last 12 Subaru ads, and they have credits in the YouTube as well. You can also be Googling this. You can find things on iSpot TV. iSpot TV is awesome. I've had my songs up there, and I look and I see commercials I've done for McDonald's and Walmart, and all the information is there. There's tons of places to find it. It's too bad that they're gone because I use them so often, but there's other ways to find it. But essentially, this is the good news. I found in my own life, and again, you're just taking it from one person, I didn't ever do it that way, because instead of finding my song and then trying to find the brand that I decided my song was a fit for, what I would do is just spend all day collecting as many of those addresses as I could, all day looking at all different ad agencies and just reaching out with what I felt was a strong ad playlist. Because then I'm just going to do a lot more cropping, right? What is it called? Like crop dusting, and like just like spread that pollen everywhere and just try to make relationships with as many broadcast producers as I could, and send them, though, here's the part that's differentiated from something I'd send someone else. Something that I thought was ad friendly. So I would send them a link, a streamable link that they can also download if they want it. I would send them like a disco link to 3 songs that I thought were really ad friendly. Because if you are emailing somebody at Colgate and you're like, oh, I know you work on Colgate, they might be like, oh yeah, that ad's over. Like, we're done. Or they might be like, why did you send me a song about toothpaste? We would never use that. Or, oh, you sent me a song about sunshine because our last Colgate spot was all about sunshine and we had this green screen of sun. We're not, that just was because the director's story for this particular ad was about sun. We don't want sun in general for Colgate. We're onto something else. So you might get a general vibe of what a brand is interested in, and that's cool. But I would say, I would try to make the relationship not with the specific, okay, I'm trying to look for this particular person who's working on this particular ad. I would try to say, what are my best TV songs? What are my best ad songs? What are my best ethereal songs? What are my best up tempo? What are my best like dramatic, like intense building songs? Those might be good for trailers. And then I would parcel off the kinds of relationships I was trying to make. And I would be sending those in a playlist with songs that I felt were really in general a good fit for that kind of medium. Does that make sense? You don't know how many times I've gotten the feedback that I've sent someone when I was first starting out, like, here's a song that's perfect for Pepsi. And they're like, because it talks about drinking soda. Like, I mean, not that I ever wrote a song that was that on the nose, but meaning it's so much better to not try to assume that you know exactly what they need, but to send them general things that have a vibe, that have a cool palette, that fit the soundscape. Like, that's what I would do. And then the cool thing is there's a general umbrella of brands that would fit. And then there's a bunch of other brands that it wouldn't. But there's a bunch that it would. And so I would be trying to make a relationship. And by the way, ad agencies don't just have one brand. They have like 6 teams. This team works on Dr. Pepper. This team works on Hyundai. This team works on Nikes. And they're all in the same office. So why would I write to a producer and pigeonhole myself and be like, I have a song for Colgate. Think of me for Colgate. It's like, that's so losing the forest for the trees. I would want to make a relationship with that person and get that person to reply and start some kind of just like dialogue with that person, so that in general, when they thought that they needed music, that they might be like, oh, do you have anything for this? Oh, yes, I do. I would try to just be more open. That's my particular strategy. And the other thing to keep in mind is that there are so many incredible people out there, us included, who are pitching music all day now, every single day. And we will talk more about how much that's changed even in the last month, because Wendy Griffiths has joined us, and we just, whatever we were doing before has been like supersized times 4. And I would lean into that. I wouldn't miss that opportunity. I would really recognize that there's a tremendous amount of briefs coming in, so much so that Wendy was like, do you want me to take you off of CC? And I was like, please do. Cause like, it was so many all day long that I was just like, it was so distracting. But Wendy ran Sync at BMG and at Position Music and at Warner Brothers Records before that. And now she's here, and you guys are going to get a chance to talk with her and all of that stuff. And we are continuing to get feedback from her, and she's been sitting, listening through all the songs and talking to Zion. And we are trying to help you understand what we need even better. So we're going to keep tailoring the Zoom sessions. Like, you'll see Victoria today coming on because she's been pitching all of these songs, sitting at Wendy's office, pitching with her. And she will be able to speak to more specifics of what it is that we're seeing, which is really exciting. And so I want you to be able to diversify yourself. I want you to learn how to be your own soldier and out there on the street doing as much as you can, fighting your own fight. But don't forget that you have an incredible resource, and you should be doing your very best to glean what it is that we're needing, because I'm telling you, we're so excited about finding those next great songs and pitching them. So just as an aside, really important to keep that in mind. Okay, last one. I see Rachel's hand up. You've had your hand up for a while. Rachel, what's up? Oh no, I can't hear you. I know that sucks, but I can't hear you.
Can you type in your question real quick, Rachel? Love to hear from you. Type it. She says, yes. What about pitching for movies?
So same deal. I mean, there's ways of doing this, but again, I would try to be much more broad than try. Okay, let me back up. You can figure out what movies are coming out. If you get an IMDb Pro account, you can see what movies are in post-production currently. And that's a really cool tool because if they're in post-production, they're probably working on music. However, they probably started working on the music 6 months ago. So again, instead of like shooting yourself in the foot and trying to do extra work so that you're so specific that you're behind, I would try to look at movies in general and think to yourself, you know, I love David O. Russell. I love Wes Anderson. I love action movies. I love whatever lights you up. And then think to yourself, let me study that. Let me listen to those songs and what are they using in the Marvel movies? And then I would think about, okay, who's the music supervisor who works on those movies? And how do I pitch those people that kind of quality of music? Like I would think a little bit broader than specific this particular soundtrack. Because again, I don't know how you're going to succeed if you're so, you know, like vying only for one thing. You're sort of then limiting everything else and you might be late to the party. And then that's very defeating and it's not necessary because those songs might work for something else. You know, with my songs, one thing that I didn't expect is that often not only would I get ads because people were like, oh, your songs work so well for ads, but then I got a bunch of songs as promos and promos pay so well. So I had a song for ABC, which ran for 12 weeks. And it was the like Thursday night lineup of like Scrubs and all the ABC shows. It was a song I wrote called Beautiful People. I love that song. I haven't even heard it in so long, but it's all about how we're all sort of so much more alike than we're different. And it's kind of a cool piano song. So it was used for a promo. Then 2 years later, I had a song called Turn the Sunshine On, which was used for NBC for The Office and Parks and Rec and a bunch of those shows. And that ran also for 12 weeks. And promos are really fun because they pay you per week, plus you get royalties and your residuals. So that can really add up because the first time I did it, it was like $5,000 a week. And then the second time I did it, I had a little bit more clout and I got $10,000 a week and it ran for 12 weeks. It was really cool money. And it was great exposure because it was like all the time, like it was playing throughout the week as the promo, which was really fun. So why am I bringing that up? Because I think sometimes we don't get what other people get about what we're doing. And so if I would have been super specific and only been pitching those songs for things that I thought they were right for and nothing else, I would have missed out. But instead I was pitching to like people at ABC in general, NBC in general. And by the way, let me back up and just be clear that the first 2 years of my business, I had an agent, Marty Silverstone, who's awesome, who was pitching on my behalf, who was so enthusiastic and such a hard worker. And the first one I got through him. And I don't know where I would have been actually had I started pitching without those first 2 years. Because I think he, being such a hustler, he really got my name out there. And then I'm also me. So I'm a particular case where I really have a strength for talking to people who I don't know. And I'm really consistent. And I also worked really hard on my music for a really long time. And then I had no shame in pitching nonstop, like Tamara, right? Like I was one of those kind of people, and still am. So, but I don't think that it hurt that for 2 years, he kind of like papered the town with like, do you know Cathy Heller? You heard of Cathy Heller? And then it kind of like helped me when I was doing that. So again, I really encourage you to take it from all sides and don't just focus on your own. I think that would probably be a losing battle if I'm like, yeah, just do this by yourself and don't have any help. Because that's not being honest. I had help in the beginning and thank God. Not only that, but we are here to help. And so, yeah, that's my answer to these questions. You can figure it out. You can find it. What I would do with that information is just slightly different. I would be researching all the time. I still do that. I do it for everything I'm working on. But instead of researching and then as a one-to-one relationship trying to pitch a song to that thing, I would be using it as just like more insight. Like, okay, that's what this type of subject and content needs music-wise. And I would use that as understanding to better myself when I went in the studio, but I wouldn't limit it to, okay, now I'm only going to be pitching to this one particular brand or this one particular movie. Makes sense, right? So yeah. Super fun times.
Do you want to do one more?
Well, I'm going to answer. Yeah, I'll take one more question. But what I do see in here is people talking about finding an agent. And I will tell you, you're in luck because we are an agency. Catch the Moon started out as Cathy Heller only, right? And then it became an agency and I found the Highfield. They were the first band that I found. And then we found so many other artists and we've been building out that agency. So we're absolutely doing that. Now, do I want you to 100% be like, great, I don't need to do it? It's like, no, I want you to be a champion for yourself. And I would be lying to you if I said like, you know, don't do anything DIY, like hang up your shingle and just leave it here and don't look anywhere else. I think it's a combo platter. I think it's a combo. But I think that what's also different about when I started than now is it's so much more saturated. I was starting out in 2006. It's 2019. There's so many more people who are in this space and the highways are really jammed up. And so it's helpful. And I'll tell you what's really cool about being connected with Catch the Moon. And you know this in your heart, but I'm going to repeat it because I've just been seeing it over and over. Music supervisors have started to see by coming to our events and coming into this class that what we are doing is so heartfelt and earnest and wholesome and professional and good that they don't see us the way they see every other agent. And I think that that differentiates us. And I think it makes us give people a sense of purpose. I think that these music supervisors come to our event and they leave feeling 20 feet tall. They're like, that was such a fun day. Like, I love this audience. I love how hardworking everyone is, how appreciative everyone is. So I think you got the best agent in your corner possible. I really think, I know it with my whole heart. So we're here. So I would say turn in those assignments because Wendy and Victoria are breathing down our neck. Like, we need this. And we're like, we're trying to get you as much as we can. But don't worry, we're not going anywhere. And that's why Zion and I worked out this legacy program and we want to have it there. So when you finish this, you'll just keep being in the know about these pitches. And we are excited about that because that means we get to keep fostering this relationship and letting you know, we need this. And you can just keep submitting anytime you have a new song. That's what that's going to be for. So you get to be a part of that only when you are part of this. Only alumni get to be part of that. So that's exciting. Let's do one more.
Timothy Pratt.
Hello.
Hey.
Thank you
Hey.
for taking me. I appreciate the thing. Yeah, my question was, how do we know when we're ready? Like, how much material do you want us to have on tap? I mean, I feel like I've been through the whole, emotional, everything. I have everything in place. I have my team in place. I'm growing my tribe with you, so thank you for that. But how much stuff do you want to see from us? Like, before you really, before we can, develop our relationship and, get it going, so to speak.
The answer is the more the merrier. But as soon as there's one song that we are nuts over, like, we're gonna send you a one song agreement because we're gonna pitch it. And then you can say yes or no. There's no forcing here, but it's an opportunity. And we just need one song that we want to pitch. We're happy to pitch that. Like, we're sometimes there's been amazing bands who have like 7 okay songs and 1 amazing song, and that's the one that gets pitched more than anything else, and that's totally fine. If you wind up having more, even better, because at the end of the day, I think one of the reasons the Highfields are so successful and that I was able to be so successful is I was constantly giving my agent and constantly giving supervisors new reasons to listen because I had a new song to send. And then they would go, God, I didn't even listen to the last 3 she sent, but maybe I should go back and listen because she keeps bugging me with something new. It's hard to bug someone with something old. It's hard to say, me again. Have you heard it? Me again. But if you act like you play dumb and go, I have something new 2 weeks later, something new for you. It's like, oh my God, this person's consistent. This person's showing up. And then if they happen to click on it and it's great, it just gives us as an agent so much more fuel, rocket fuel to help you as an artist. And it also, by the way, helps you stand out to us. So I would just say, here's the way it's going. Here's the way it goes. Here's the way it's going to go is when you're going through this process, as you submit music, the answer is we're listening to it. And when we like it, we will let you know and we will start pitching. We've already been doing that. We've been doing that since the beginning of this program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. I like my feedback on my first song. I had just a few little elements I think that needed to be changed, and I hope my next assignment will be acceptable. But yeah, my team is really excited to be working with you guys, and I feel like it's all coming together. So I'm really excited.
That's awesome.
Thank you so
Very
much.
Cool. Very, very cool. So what else is going on? I'm texting right now with Victoria. I saw her yesterday. I thought she was going to go on this week, and then she didn't yesterday because we had a meeting. So Zion, is she not going on today? I thought she was going on, or you're going on today.
I'm going on at 2 for the Access class, and Victoria is coming in next week for the Access class.
Next week. Okay, fine.
And FYI, we are going to Six Figure Songwriting already started this week. We're going to be flipping between mornings and afternoons so that the European people have a little bit more chance of jumping on calls. So we started that with the Six Figure Songwriting class this week, but we'll be rolling that out for the Access course as well. So each week it'll be morning classes, and then the next week will be afternoon classes, and the next week will be morning for office hours.
Okay, awesome. I just messaged with her. We're messaging in real time. Let's see what she says. But I would love her to pop on this week. I had asked her to do that last week for this week, and I know she's been super busy. But I'd love her to come on. If you're going on it too, maybe she can come on later. And I want her to give people an update on all the stuff that she's been pitching and all the stuff that she really is feeling that she's loving and the stuff that she feels we really need more of. So we'll find a time for her to pop on and do that. It's important.
And there's been a lot of songs that Wendy and Victoria have sent for one single song agreements. And we can't wait to announce that to you guys. I mean, I think a lot of you are going, nobody's getting any traction. No, they are. There's a lot of great songs coming out of these classes. And so we're going to announce that and show you the songs that we liked. That'll help you guys understand the quality that has to be there. For
Awesome. This was so fun. We covered so many things, and this is what I love doing. I love talking about the nitty-gritty stuff, and I also love making sure that we talk about all of the big picture aspects, because I don't know that you're going to get both of those things in every single program or class or even relationship that you have. But that's really what I'm providing, and that's what really speaks to me, because I do know that in order for you guys to have all of these things that you want, you're going to need to look at the stuff that you're feeding yourself all day long, and you're going to need to change some of that script in your mind and get into action and be consistent. And that is only going to happen so much more so when you are kind to yourself and when you are also super aware of what's possible. The possibility of what's here, the certainty of what's possible, as well as you're being kind to yourself. The kindness will allow you to make things even when you don't think they're perfect, and you'll send the email to a potential co-writer even when you're feeling like you're afraid afraid. You'll do it anyway. And the possibility of what's possible to be able to be created is what's going to push you to get that done. And those two things together, that's the secret sauce. What we're going to start rolling out ASAP is this really cool way that you can unlock special listening sessions and office special calls, Zoom calls, by completing your assignments for the month. And they will be, one will be your song. That's your big one. And then there'll be like different things that you're going to have to submit throughout the month that won't be songs, but they will be showing us your process, and we'll be asking you a question. And sometimes they might repeat from week 2 of one month to week 3 of another month. It might, but there'll be different things that we'll be asking you, and there'll be ways of you letting us know that you've completed that stuff and that you're working on that and showing us your process, which will be honestly just good for you. Like, this is really what you need. I don't know about you, but I don't work out unless somebody's standing at the gym waiting for me. Like, I won't go. I know myself. So the best money I can spend is on an accountability trainer. That's all they're really there for. I don't really care how many weights they tell me to lift. I just need them to stand there. So I need you to get into action, and I'm going to work harder to get you to do that. Such a fun morning. Loved hanging out with you guys. And this will be recorded for those of you who popped on late. And if you ever worry like, oh my gosh, I didn't know she was coming, you always get to see this again. And we're, like Zion said, we're going to try to keep moving the times around so that different people get to come at different times. I might even try to do it sometimes in the evening or on a Sunday, just in case people have different kinds of schedules. But I love spending time with you. It is totally a pleasure. None of it feels like work. You guys are such a joy. And if you haven't heard the How to Serve episode, which is from a couple weeks ago, a week ago, listen to it, because it's the opening talk that I gave at Sink Keepers, and I think you guys might really love it. So thank you, Zion, for helping with this call. Thank you for everything you've been doing. You're such an incredible partner in crime, and I love you guys, and I can't wait to keep seeing what you're doing. Thank you for being such an incredible support to one another. It means the world to me, and I'm so excited about all of it. And remember to be kind to yourself and stop trying to harvest at every single second. Give yourself some time to breathe in and have that reverence and respect for this process. And if you get just that out of this program alone, that could change your life. Just be kind to yourself and keep putting in that work. And remember that those actions all add up to good stuff. Have an amazing day, and we'll talk to you really soon.
Bye, guys.